Welcome to this video, which looks at how to reference with Whole Harvard and APA 7th. We're going to concentrate on why and when, and a little bit of how you reference your sources. In your academic writing, you must use references in your work to acknowledge the sources that you've used. As you can see from the examples here, this writer has clearly acknowledged the original author by including their surname and the year of the publication in the text. This author year style of referencing is used by both the Harvard and APA systems. A lot of new students ask us why referencing is needed. It can seem an unnecessary extra piece of work to do. However, academic work is supposed to build on existing knowledge. Here is a screenshot of the Google Scholar opening page, and it clearly says this allows you to stand on the shoulders of giants, which means you're building on other people's work. So that emphasises it nicely. So using references makes your argument stronger. We can't emphasise this enough. If you want people to take note of what you write and argue, then you must show that your arguments are based on sound evidence, which means introducing material that you've read into your writing. This must all be referenced to show where it came from. Referencing also means you can demonstrate you've undertaken appropriate research. So the student whose writing this excerpt comes from has shown by referencing an academic journal that they have read the right sort of pieces for this academic writing. You can reference many different types of source, such as books, journals, official documents, reputable websites. But they need to be trustworthy sources, and by referencing them, you're showing exactly where those sources can be found. So when do you reference? What sort of things do you need to reference? Well, you need to reference whenever you refer to or use the work of others to support your arguments. So this has been written in a person's own words, but they're clearly indicating where their ideas have come from and how they support their arguments. So that is even if you paraphrase or summarise into your own words, as in this example here. Ryan didn't say that exactly, but that is the meaning of what they wrote. You do need to reference whenever you quote directly from another source as well. So here you can see there's some direct quotes, the exact words of the author, and they're done slightly different depending on whether it's Harvard or APA. But you can see they've both got the reference in quotation marks, they've both got the citation there, and they're both giving the page number just slightly differently. You need to reference whenever you use data, diagrams or images from other sources. So if you've got some direct numbers that you're bringing in, then obviously you've got to say where they came from. You don't just make these numbers up, you've got to show where they're from. Even if you create your own charts and they're based on the numbers of others, like in the Treasury one here, you can see you would still put that reference in there as your data source. Even if you're writing a reflective assignment, which would be very much based on your own experiences, you do need to support your reflection with references. So if you look at this example, it shows how their experience highlighted the importance of something, in this case an early intervention, that they became aware of through their reading. They've also introduced a reference about the reflective process itself by citing where they found a useful reflective log template. You also need to use a reference if referring to something an author has quoted, reproduced or cited in another source you've looked at. This would be called a secondary reference. In that circumstance, you should always try to find the original source if possible to confirm what was written in the source you read and ensure the original was not misrepresented in any way. If you can't find the original, don't pretend you have. Make it clear in the writing that it's a secondary reference. I'll give some examples of how to do this in the next video. Only include the book or article you've read in your final reference list. So how do you reference? Well, very briefly, each reference has two parts. There's the in-text citation, in this case Cottrell 2019, just put in brackets at the end of the point that's been made. And then there is, at the end of the whole document, your essay or report or whatever it happens to be, you have a alphabetical list of references, and the entry that you referred to in your text has a corresponding entry in that reference list, so that somebody can actually go off and find that source if they wanted to look further into something. The example here gives a book. There are 3 more videos in this series looking at mastering your in-text citations, perfecting your reference list, and quoting, paraphrasing, and summarising. If you need any specific help with referencing, feel free to contact the skills team in the library using any of these methods.